Happy Crocktober! Today I have 3 incredible slow cooker recipes just for you. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Also, I love a good crockpot recipe and I have made many over the years. So I will link a bunch of additional slow cooker recipe videos for you in my description box below that you can check out. First up, I am making these savory, delicious Salisbury steak meatballs. You could use a bag of frozen meatballs, that would be totally fine, but I love making my own meatballs and it's really not too difficult. So I started out with a couple pounds of ground beef. Mine was 80-20, I believe, 80% lean, 20% fat. To that, I add 1 egg per pound, so 2 eggs. I add a half a cup of breadcrumbs per pound. So 1 cup of seasoned Italian breadcrumbs, and then also a half a cup of grated Parmesan cheese per pound. So again, 1 cup. And then I season that with salt and pepper and some garlic powder, and then mix that all together by hand. And I form my own meatballs and place them into my crock pot. And I always spray the inside of my crock pot just to make sure nothing is sticking to the edges. For the sauce, I combined beef broth with a packet of low sodium brown gravy mix. And I also used some dried minced onion. You could use an onion soup packet, but there's already a lot of salt going on in here. So I just decided to use the dried onion to get that good flavor, but without the sodium. Also, you can see there a healthy glug of Worcestershire sauce and a couple tablespoons of ketchup. Then you whisk that all together and pour it over top of the meatballs. I covered the Salisbury steak meatballs and cooked them on low for 6 hours or so. And then before they were finished, I did add in a little slurry, which is equal parts water and cornstarch mixed together. And then you stir that in and you want to keep the heat on the crock pot. So it should still be on the low setting, or if you do them on high, either way, you want it to kind of be bubbling still a little bit so that the juices thicken up into a little bit more of a saucy gravy. And the reason why you want that thick, rich sauce is because you're going to pour it over either your egg noodles, which are delicious, mashed potatoes, or rice, whatever you want to serve this with. This was a huge hit with my family. Highly recommend this recipe. This next recipe was very interesting. This is garlic parmesan chicken and potatoes. So I started by spraying my crock pot insert, and then I have 6 kids plus my husband and me, so we're a big family. So I cut up 2 bags of these little golden potatoes, and then I season those with salt, pepper, paprika, and garlic powder. Next, I diced up a couple of boneless, skinless chicken breasts. I added these to the crock pot and then seasoned that with salt, pepper, paprika, onion powder, and dried Italian seasoning. This Buffalo Wild Wings Parmesan garlic sauce is what really reeled me into this recipe. But we're going to circle back to this sauce in a little bit. You drizzle, I think it was about half the bottle over top of the meat and potatoes, and then start cooking. So this I cooked on low, again, for 6 hours. Before it was completely finished cooking, I stirred it all together. You can see I shredded up some mozzarella cheese there and sprinkled that all over top. Then I popped the lid back on and let it sit for, it really only needs about 10 or 15 more minutes until the cheese is all melted over the top. So here are the 2 things about this recipe. 1, it didn't taste the way I was anticipating it would. It kind of tastes just like chicken and potatoes in a really rich, savory gravy, which is good. I just thought it was going to taste like Parmesan garlic wings. Also, the Parmesan garlic sauce was incredibly spicy, at least for our family, and none of my kids wanted to eat it because their mouths were on fire. So that was unfortunate, but if you like spicy sauces, this one might be right up your alley. Lastly is a cozy take on chicken pot pie. This one is a gnocchi pot pie. So again, I sprayed my slow cooker insert and added a couple of boneless, skinless chicken breasts. And then I seasoned those with this sort of all-purpose chicken seasoning. Mine is from Penzeys Spices. I got that in the Pittsburgh area. That's a big spice company there down in the Strip District. And this tastes great. It just adds so much flavor to your chicken. So you could use any mix that you have in your pantry just to boost the flavor level a little bit here. Then on top of that, I added a bag of frozen mixed vegetables and another bag of just frozen peas and carrots. And then I poured 2 cans of cream of chicken soup over that and 2 cans of milk. And I probably should have stirred the milk and soup together first and poured it over. But really, once it cooks, you stir it together, it all kind of comes together in the end anyway. So it wasn't too big of a deal. And then I added a little bit more of that chicken seasoning on top, and this cooked on low for 6 hours. And this smelled amazing. I will say I remember it needing more salt, so I did have to season it a little bit more in that regard. And then to top it off, I used potato gnocchi. This is in my freezer section. I prefer frozen gnocchi over the dried. I just think it has better flavor and texture. They also make ricotta gnocchi, so it just depends on your preference. You could use either one. You sprinkle that over top, and then I covered it and let it cook for a couple of hours because mine was starting from frozen and the texture ended up being perfect. So the timing on this was a little bit off that day because of my activities in the evening. What you would normally do is pull the chicken first and shred it, put it back in, stir it all together, and then top it with the gnocchi at the end. But honestly, it doesn't really matter. I kind of did it out of order, but it worked out just fine. And you can see I used the hand mixer trick. You could use a hand mixer or a stand mixer, and it shreds cooked chicken breasts truly in seconds. It's really handy. So I added the chicken back in, stirred it all together, and sprinkled some dried parsley on top for a little bit of garnish. And this was very good, very comforting. I think I prefer cut up refrigerated biscuit dough on the top of my slow cooker pot pie better, but it was an interesting interpretation, and I think a lot of people would really enjoy it. Thank you so much for joining me here today in my kitchen, and I'll see you again soon.